Hello, friends, and welcome back to a live edition of Prep Sports Plus. We've got Andy in the house. Andy,
We're live.
we're live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
Shout out.
Get it?
Why am I forgetting who that is?
That's Papa Bear. That's Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. Thank you.
Not to be confused with Bill Riley, who runs the Bill Riley Talent Show. Shout out Henry County State Fair this last week.
Shout out the Henry County
With
State
our
Fair.
athletes.
Shout out to Bill O'Reilly. I am here, as you can tell from not remembering who Bill O'Reilly was. My brain is a little fatigued this early afternoon, Andy.
Yes.
Just got back from 3 days in Fort Dodge.
Dirty Dodge.
Which we'll talk about specifically with our last area team that was remaining and is no longer in the state softball tournament. Andy, we are officially done. Oh, he's getting a Scam Likely call. That's fun.
Likely.
Andy, we are officially done with the 2025-2026 Union Area Sports Calendar. How does that feel?
It's crazy. It's crazy. It used to feel a lot crazier. It doesn't feel as crazy when it's July the 23rd and the first event of the 2020 6-7 sports calendar is on August 10th.
Wow.
Which means we're gonna have 2 weeks until girls tennis.
Cool.
So it
Quick
used to be a
turnaround.
lot crazier, especially when we had a paper a day. Where we write just as many stories, I feel, but the deadline a day sometimes would get a little nerve-wracking when you had 3 weeks to come up with stuff.
Yeah, that is that would have been a lot more strenuous. But yeah, so we'll have a little bit of a break and then we'll get rolling into fall sports. But we've got some things to talk about from state softball. First of all, though, I have not checked in super producer Peter, who is producing live. Peter, how has that been for you so far?
It's been good so far. Audio's good, connection's good.
Look at that.
Everything's good. It's kind of like a boat. Everything's good until it's not. So until it's not,
Until another
good.
boat shoots a cannonball at us.
exactly.
Right. Yes. Pirates. Shout out.
One thing people like to focus on the negative so much. Like, no one ever talks about how the Titanic was pretty much problem-free up until,
It's a good point. The Titanic didn't screw anything up. It was just the
A
iceberg.
Titanic is kind of like the offensive line. If you don't hear anything about it, it's doing its job
Right.
well.
Right. Exactly. So thank you to Peter for being on the ones and twos for us. Andy, Cardinal softball. What a run.
What a run, Cardinal.
Got to the state tournament. They were our only area team that made it. Had some close calls with Washington, Fairfield, and Highland, all making it very close. Highland's opponent, actually, that knocked it out is still in and playing for playing for a state title to potentially repeat Clarksville. But Cardinal over in 2A, they not only went to state, Andy, they won a game at state. They not only won a game at state, Andy, they pulled off an 8-1 upset at state, seeded number 8 after upsetting I-35 to reach state. The Comets knocked off Grandview Christian on day 1 of the competition on Monday, 4-3. That put them in the winner's bracket and a win away from the semifinals, but unfortunately ran into a good Regina Catholic team. Went almost the distance with them for the majority of the game. Got to the 6th inning in Regina. That was when they scored 4 runs after they were tied at 2 and won that game 6-2. Then Cardinal had to play Grandview again, and I will give some credit to Grandview Christian briefly, specifically their pitcher whose name is escaping me, and it's a Pearl Weitzel. I hope I'm not messing her name up too much. 8th grader. Grandview Christian has 2 real pitchers, and she came in as an 8th grader and was really limiting, obviously, a Cardinal offense that had been red hot coming into state, and they won that 11-3, bringing the Comets' journey to an end. This was their first state title appearance or state tournament appearance since 2005, and they went out and won a game. So, I mean, obviously, there were of course, there's always tears when a season comes to an end, but this team had a lot to hang its hats on. I mean, they were 13-10, I think, going into the postseason. Played in a really tough conference, and
yeah, they had lost like 4 of their last 5 or something crazy
something like that.
that.
Yeah. So, they have a lot to I think hang their hats on, and a talented group of 4 seniors heads out and But talking with Hannah Simpson, their coach, she seems very intent on keeping this team right at this level, and they got the buy-in to do it for one season, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know what thoughts you want to give there. You were part of that playoff run. I saw them at State. I can get into more detail of what I saw, but
well, first off, Cardinal, has just in the big picture, even before Hannah Simpson took over, even before Destin LaRue joined the staff or took over, Cardinal had reached a point right before the team had joined the SCC, the South Central Conference, where they were good enough. They weren't always a favorite to go to state. They were good enough, and they had a few different years where actually Regina, unfortunately, is usually the team that brought them to an end. I was at a game where they got walked off. They were leading going into the seventh in 2021. A couple years later, Regina was number one, and Cardinal played them in the semis and led them until the end and got walked off. So the team has been good enough to make this run. And then something about this year, I had them at the Fairfield tournament. You could tell, especially because of good pitching, McLean Hickenbottom especially, that they had the to kind of do it, as long as they just, when you have good pitching, it comes down to a couple bounces here and there. If you can just play good defense, which they did in the regionals, which they did in game one, especially of state. And I would say probably game one all the way up until the sixth inning of game two, right? I mean, they were a solid defensive team. They had enough bats. They have a little senior experience, and they have plenty of talent coming back. I mean, Cardinal, they get battle tested from the SCC. So I was never surprised. I think we talked about it before, and I was like, it's not. Sometimes when we have teams that go to state and they're the 8 seed, it's kind of like a happy to be there situation where you're like, it's really cool they won the regionals. In some sports, especially like basketball, you're like, they have like a 1 in 100 chance of beating this super big. Softball and baseball are not like that, where there's always a chance. And we knew that the skill level between Grandview Christian and Cardinal was not some, crazy gap. And the Cardinal could beat anybody over there. So it was cool that they were able to prove themselves. And it was cool for Hannah Simpson, who was one of our best softball players of the past decade, that she was able to prove herself as a coach. And so I was happy for all of them. And Coach LaRue, I mean, he was the head coach that brought a lot of these kids up. And what is their other assistant is Zoe, right? Zoe Jones.
Yes.
And so it was cool to watch and be able to see that they could do that for Cardinal softball, which again, they hadn't been at state since 2005, which was right at the end of their heyday. But lately they had teases, and there were years where we thought they were going to make it, and so it was just cool to see them up there.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Grandview Christian, like, obviously the 2A bracket, we talked about it, I think, on one of the other blocks. Like, Class 2A was a pretty chaotic. I mean, Ridgeview beat Durant. Durant, the number 2 seed, got knocked out in 2 games. They went 0-2. Like, that, it was a pretty wild class. But Grandview Christian recovered after that Cardinal loss and won 4 straight games, including beating Regina twice, and they're now playing for the state title game. So, like, they're no slouch of a team either. That was a wild game against Regina. The first one, they hit 3 home runs, came back from 8-2 down, and I think 8-4 down too, or something like that. 4-1 and 8-4 was their deficits, and won. Like, so they beat a real team. They were the number 1 seed for a reason. I think they were number 2 ranked going into state, or going into the regional games, behind Riverside. So, yeah, certainly, like, that was a big thing that Hannah Simpson kind of talked about when I talked to her after the last game, was like, yeah, we're not just happy to be here. I listened back to the broadcast, and they were talking about how this team is young and will come back and become, more of a consistent fixture at state, which you see in some of the higher classes with some teams who just get there all the time. So, yeah, definitely good, and kudos to them for the performance. You talked about McLean Hickenbottom had a really good game in that first Grandview one. Summer LaRue, leading hitter for Cardinal, will be a big hole to fill as is one of the seniors graduating, but led the team in hits. She went 3 for 4 in that game, 3 for 4 in that first game against Grandview, had like 35 hits. this season. Autumn Surter, their catcher, led the team in stolen bases. They had all their seniors do, a ton of impressive stuff this year. So we'll be a core four. Hannah Simpson was already like, all of them are invited to join the staff next year. They're welcome to come back, which I thought was a pretty fun. I thought was a pretty fun, thing to include in the story that I wrote just about them. And I was going to mention their other seniors like contributions because I can't remember off the top of my head, but
the other girls who are seniors would be
I found it.
Alexis Bissell is a senior.
Yep. She was second behind LaRue, 29 hits. She had 2 at state.
Yep.
And then Colby Sainer, an
Mm-hmm.
RBI at state, 15 hits for the season. They all had big roles to play, and you do have all 3 of the Higginbottoms coming back. So, I know it seemed like the PA announcers were pretty flustered, when it was Maverin and then Malin and then McLean coming up like two batters later. So definitely a fun culture they're building over there at Cardinal.
And I'm sure because Malin and Maverin back to back. And
yep.
I think throughout the season, every once in a while they switched a little bit too. So I'm sure that it was, that's confusing.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny sitting up in the press box hearing them, sort through all of those names. Like, because he was just saying like, due up for the Comets, like Sainer, and then he'd pause and then go Maverin, Malin, like, and he'd have to say their first names instead of their last names. That was fun. So
that's pretty great.
Yeah. So kudos to them. A heck of a season, and we'll see what happens next year.
What I think is cool, and I don't know if there's a hidden meaning behind it or why, but the fact that Malin Hickenbottom, the middle child of the 3, wears number 99 is interesting to me.
It's pretty great. They all had their moments too, all 3 of them. I mean, Malin had it doesn't count as an inside the park home run, but in that second Grandview Christian game, Grandview Christian's bats were just on fire, and we'll get into it when we talk about the tournament format, but they had of course seen Macklin and McLean, excuse me, and they were batting well. But she had the wildest play I had seen maybe in the whole tournament with she hits an RBI, what would have been an RBI single, and probably not even that if the Grandview Christian catcher had maybe just turned around and made a tag, probably would have gotten the out at home. Just throws to second, goes in the outfield, and Malin ends up being able to score all the way from first, which was pretty epic, and got some good photos of the celebration of that.
Yeah, and she got Malin got to be the one who she got to do the bracket, right?
That was Mav.
Oh, Maverin got to do the bracket.
She had the big hit.
She had the 2 RBIs.
The 2 RBI double in the first Grandview game, and yes, got to be the quick star of the game. No free ads.
Oh, the quick star of the game. Oh, Quick Star was I got beef with Quick Star because they posted on their social media the best part about Casey's is leaving. And I was like, whoa.
That's funny.
Don't you start a war with Casey's? I'm on Casey's team.
Beef history.
I'm on Casey's war zoner. And we'll talk about this probably more B block, but we'll save this for B block because the Cardinal played enough teams or enough games where you'd think there could be some all tournament team nominations, but it's going to be very confusing to pick the all tournament team. Maybe we should wait till we come back to we can dive into that further. So yeah, you got anything else, Jack?
No, I mean it was a very it was a very fun kind of road to cover. I mean, I guess the only other thing I should shout out is Hannah played against her former coach when Cardinal played Regina Catholic. Angela Kessler, who's the coach of Regina, coached her in 12U softball, which was pretty fun. I talked to her, and she couldn't say enough about how proud she was to see Hannah kind of succeeding. And did joke to me once. She was like, I'm gonna give her a hug. This was after Regina's first game, so they hadn't played yet, but we knew the matchup, and she was like, I'm gonna give her a hug, and then go try and beat her. And after Regina played Cardinal, was like, unfortunately it didn't pan out that way, but she was like, I expect we'll see them again because that was a very good game. So she gave a lot of kudos to Hannah. That was a fun kind of connection. I'm going to end up writing a larger story, I think, about Simpson's first year, and got some good quotes from her players, and that was a fun connection to include too. Had
When
some great
Hannah
words for
was-
Fairfield also. Asked her about. She said she had to turn her phone off after they beat Grandview because she had so many texts.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that was her class when she was in high school was a big softball class. Softball and baseball is a big season in Fairfield anyway. But I was gonna say, you said 12U. She played varsity, was middle of the lineup hitter as an 8th grader. So she 12U is not. She must have been a heck of a 12U player because that's only like a year away
Right.
from when she was one of the stars of the varsity team. So yeah, good times. When we come back, we're going to discuss the new format of the state girls tournament. Maybe Jack has some stories about his first time in Fort Dodge for this. He was there for cross country, so you don't want to miss it, and you really have no excuses because we're live. We'll be back, so stick around.
At WCHC, our goal is to take great care of our patients and our staff.
We are able to approach you, take care of your issues, but also give you a path, as far as referrals or treating you right then and there.
Our role in the community is taking care of something that matters to everyone. It's their family and their health.
More than you expect for your healthcare.
Check out Community Profiles every Thursday, where our host, Greta Clemens, talks with people from around Washington about their stories and highlighting upcoming events. Make sure to tune in to Community Profiles every Thursday at 10 on the Southeast Iowa Live Facebook and YouTube page.
I love helping people. I always wanted to help people. That's what I love the most.
We do a really good job of growing our own, but also we are able to take your skills, adapt them to what we need, or grow them as well.
Our leadership group here, they are actively involved, always supportive of our new ideas and innovation here at the hospital.
Washington County Hospital and Clinics. Apply today.
Southeast Iowa Video Network. He's Andy. I'm Jack. He's that way on my screen, so I might be pointing the wrong way on the YouTube. I don't know.
On my screen, you're that way.
You're to my. Oh, wait. I can see my. Actually, I should be pointing this way because my camera's mirrored. So there you go. He's that way. Welcome back. That was the best intro you could have ever asked for. You want to talk a little more softball tournament, Andy? Should I just throw this over to you because you texted me? So of course, on top of my duties with Cardinal. And covering all of their games, I was helping out the Gazette, just bouncing around. I ended up actually covering pretty much all of Regina's run as well, just because I was sort of in the 2A space with them being a Gazette area team. So I watched all but one of their games, I think, all but the first Grandview Christian game. Anyway, but you were texting me while I was zipping around doing some other games that you had some thoughts, and frankly, I've heard from some coaches too about the tournament format and their thoughts on it being the first year of the double elim. So fire away.
Okay, so I had some takes. I got takes. First off, as someone who has been multiple times to the state softball tournament multiple days, this year I wasn't there, but I did watch a lot of the games on YouTube to at least kind of get the vibe, and I guess you can confirm it did feel like the vibe and the atmosphere was heightened because there were a bunch of meaningful games that had something to do with who's going to be the champion. Whereas usually after it's like the old days, day one was super fun. Everyone's playing for something. Day two, you're there. There's a couple games going on. There's maybe 4 games going on, and a couple of them are consolation games, which are, first off, they would always shove the consolation games to the outer fields, which are very fun fields. They have a great group of fields over there at Rogers, but they would be time limited. I remember that Mount Pleasant and Fairfield actually played in like the 5th place game or something like that a few years ago, and it was a time limit. Like they had in the bottom of the 6th, they're like, well, that's it. We can't play the 7th because we have a time limit. So there was a little bit of a, those games just weren't the same. And they would almost become annoying for we were covering them for the newspaper because it's like, well, the run is over, they've lost, but then they have these extra games. It felt like and maybe it's because of the way the games went, but it felt like constant chaos, which I think is what you want when you have that good of a sports complex, in a big stage like that. Would you agree with that, Jack?
So and I haven't been around this. This is my first experience of the state softball tournament was with this format. So I don't know the old one. When you talk about it like that, I think it makes this format seem a lot better because yes, every game the team is playing for something. You're either, if you both lost once, you're playing to stay alive and potentially keep your run kind of going. There's no I think consolation games, especially at that point in the year, are incredibly silly. I feel like even if you're a player, you're like, okay, I can't win a state title. I just want to be done now. I've been playing for 3 months, but I think for that, alleviating that is a lot better with this new format. There's always something to play for.
Yeah, and another thing is, here's a couple of other things that were so originally before COVID, before all that, you played it out like the Maui Invitational. So playing the extra games, there was a first place, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh.
Right.
You were playing for your standing, so it mattered a little bit more. One thing that was really annoying was the all tournament team. Like you would play, everybody played 3 games. Everyone was guaranteed 3 games. If you lost your first game, then your other 2 games were before they had the all tournament team votes. So
you could still have someone make it if they had really good games.
Yeah, well, you'd think, but no, but even if you went, let's say, you batted 700 and had a couple home runs, but your team went 2-1, but lost that first game, there was no representative to talk about you when they were doing the all tournament team. The only media members or coaches there were the ones of the 4 that waited until the semifinals. And so sometimes that would be annoying because it'd be like, it was almost like, what scale are we putting these consolation games on? And then after COVID, they changed it to you only have 1 consolation game anyway.
Right.
So then you're not even playing it out like the Maui Invitational. So, which that seems way sillier when it's just 1 game. It just seems like it's incomplete. So I at least like that the tournament is, I don't mind double elimination. I think that's cool. Like, I think it adds to it. I don't think it's weird to do in softball. I think if you're going to do a double elimination tournament, softball and baseball is a sport that lends itself to that. It would be crazier in baseball where you have the pitching rules and stuff. But I've always felt like that's part of the sport of baseball or softball is you play a lot of games and you're not always, ace on ace or whatever. I understand why they do it like the College World Series, where you have two little, if you have
pods,
18,
the pods,
2 pods. But the reason the College World Series does it like that is because then they can put the 3-game championship on TV, and when the championship is. So the College World Series doesn't want to do a traditional 2-out elimination tournament and have an if necessary time slot on the broadcast.
Right.
I feel like the association or the union is not as bogged down by that. I mean, they're already doing if necessary games in the semifinals. At this point, I would say if it was up to me, I would do a pure 2-out elimination tournament where you don't necessarily play the teams from your sub. If you lose, you go down here and all this other stuff, and you can win, go through the losers bracket. And then at the end, the team that went through the winners bracket has to lose twice. I understand that doesn't manufacture the
one-off title game.
The one-off title game, but a true 2-out elimination tournament. In a true 2-out elimination tournament, a team that went undefeated and loses the last game should have another chance against a team that
maybe is lost earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could have a 1-loss team beat an undefeated team, and they're the champion.
I am in complete agreement. So obviously, like if you look at the 2A's case, right, it was Grandview Christian Cardinal were the 1-8, and then Regina Catholic and Hinton were the 4-5. Cardinal played Grandview Christian, Regina Catholic, then Grandview Christian again. Regina, which won its first 2 games. They beat Hinton, they beat Cardinal, had to play Grandview Christian twice and lost both of those games for a double elimination to get eliminated in the semifinal. I think you mix up the pods. I think if you lose once, you drop down and you look at the 1 through 8 seeds, and so look at the bottom of the bracket. Ridgeview upset Durant. Durant is the number 2 seed, would maybe play Hinton, which lost to Regina, as the 4 or 5 game, and it'd be 2 versus 5. And then Grandview Christian would play Logan Magnola, which was the 6th seed that lost to Wapsie Valley in the first round. And that's how you do it. And then you move it back. You like morph it back together. I agree. Like, I get it might seem more confusing for like which team are we going to play, what like field are we going to be on, what's like our path. It's not as uniform. But I think from a strategy perspective, especially in the smaller schools where you are not going to have very many, Grandview Christian was a notable exception. You are not going to have very many teams with pitchers that you've thrown all year, 2 pitchers that you've thrown all year. You're going to need 2 pitchers now to make a title game. You just are, because you're going to have to play. There's a potential, had Regina Catholic won. No, there was. I know it was in 3A with Albia. Albia had the potential to play 3 games in one day. You're going to need 2 pitchers if that.
Oh,
has
really?
to
I
happen.
didn't even realize that they had to play 3 games in one day.
Yes.
Oh, because they went. Yeah, I guess I understand why they did.
Yeah.
I think like that should be part of the sport. The one complaint that anyone ever has about softball is like, well, if you have the big pitcher, like that doesn't even matter what the rest of your team is, which isn't true, because unless you have a pitcher that strikes out, 20 girls a game, shout out Morgan Christner, shout out Maddie Anderson, a couple of our former best who would do that. You really need the whole team, but I agree that it's a challenge. And if you had the bracket, you could say, here's what the games aren't going to change. You're going to say this game goes on this field, this seed. If you lose this, loser of this game goes here. So it's not. You can put out the entire bracket, and so people really can't complain about who they're playing because it's their path. And you also run the risk this way of the 2 best teams being in one pod.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't, people are going to say, if there's a blowout in the championship, people are going to be like, well, our pod had all the best players, teams, and they didn't belong,
Yeah, Albia, by the way, so they lost to Van Meter on Monday, beat West Delaware on Tuesday, and then had to play Van Meter again. And if they would have beaten them, they would have had to play Wallert, and if they beat Wallert, they would have had to play Wallert again, and it would have been 3 games in one day. That's what happened, actually, I think, in 1A too. Or it would have happened in 1A as well to St. Edmund had they not lost that crazy game to. Oh, it did happen. Sorry, it did happen to St. Edmund. St. Edmund played Ramson, St. Mary's, and Clarksville twice in one day.
I will say now on the positive side, the St. Edmunds Clarksville 3-game series that it wound up to be 3 absolute classics playing against the same team. That was kind of cool. But that can happen in the other format too.
It can, yeah. I think you need to mix up the teams. It's very hard to beat at this level when you're talking state with the talent you have. It's very hard to like beat the same team twice in a row. Especially on the same day when you might have to pitch someone else and.
I love that there's a lot of games that matter. I would rather this current format than the old one.
Yeah.
I would rather it be this, the chaos, or just straight up, 8 teams and no consolation games, but you have all the fields. You might as well do the 2-out elimination. So I hope they tweak it, but it's still really cool, so I can't really complain too much about it.
Yeah, I think the format works. I think you make some slight adjustments. And shout out to 1A too. One of the teams I was covering for the Gazette was Edgewood Colesburg, which did the Cinderella thing, marched all the way to the title game. They won 3 games in a row, beat Exira AHK Audubon in the 1-8 game, then beat Southeast Warren, and then beat EHK Audubon again, 5-0 in the semifinals. So they're playing. They've done what you've said. So if they lose to Clarksville, technically Clarksville will have one loss, and Edco will have had 1 loss, but Clarksville will be the state champions in that case.
And so Edco could be like, so then if let's just say Clarksville beats Edco 8-0, then Edco could be like, well, that's dumb. We lost the same amount of games as them, and then Grandview Christian. Wait, no, and then whatever the 1A team was that you said.
St. Edmund
could be like, oh yeah, well, our side of the bracket was all the best teams.
Yeah.
Here's my even bigger issue. Now, this one is one that this is one thing that has to change. they did away with the coin flip on who was the home team a few years ago, where the top seed is always the home team, which I think at least, it makes sense for regionals and a regular tournament. If Cardinal wins, let's say they went to the pod championship, their 8 seed, they would have been the road team no matter what. Like you can't just make the worst seed stay the road team if they've proven that they're better than one of the teams they've beaten. So I would rather them do some sort of a coin flip or something for home team, at least after the first round. Because there was a situation where a team, there's a couple situations where teams that were better off in the bracket, they hadn't lost, they were still having to be the road team because the team they were currently playing, who came through the losers bracket, was a higher seed, and so they just reverted back to the higher seed being home. So I don't really like that. I would rather, I'd rather do a coin flip.
Yeah, that's fair. Or you just reseed it.
Or the winner's bracket team gets to be home.
Yeah.
You could say that too. But yeah.
Get to reseed it or something.
Reseed it. Yeah. Just something to where it's not. I mean, it's hard enough for the 8 seed. You don't have to also make them the road game every single time, no matter how good they're doing.
Right.
And the seeding is not scientific. I mean, it's based on the union rankings in 1A. Those teams don't even play each other in the year usually, the top 1A teams.
Yeah.
And so you don't know, I really didn't love that anyway, even in the old format, because number 1 seed versus number 2 seed, they could be evenly strength, but the number 1 seed gets an advantage. I also don't really like, the other thing I would change about the whole tournament is I understand why they did this. I really hate that regional finals and sub-state finals are not at neutral fields.
I agree with this.
That really bothers me because the travel is crazy. You've got one school traveling like 4 hours, and it just doesn't feel the same seeing them in a true road game. And it's the same thing where the seedings are not scientific enough to justify hosting the game is a huge advantage.
I'd agree.
So those would be Andy's. Those are Andy's tips to perfectify the softball tournament, which I believe took a huge step up in the funness. I've had even just watching it on YouTube, I've had a ton of fun watching it. So shout out to whoever had the idea to make it a 2-out elimination bracket in the first place.
By the way, Mason City, Newman, North Lynn, Newell Fonda, Wayne, Kingsley, Pearson, Key, and Holy Trinity were all ranked ahead of Edco in the final Girls Union rankings. Edco is playing.
Wow.
None of them made the tournament. Edco is playing for a title.
Yeah. That's a totally. Yeah, Edco's been super fun to watch. By the way, my favorite little rivalry, my favorite game to watch of all the non-Cardinal games was Clarksville and North Butler are like 15 miles apart, and they played like a 15-inning game. It was like it was like Hillcrest Highland or New London Winfield or something if they were to play in the state tournament.
Right.
And that was really cool. I know we don't want to say good things about Clarksville because they knocked out our Highland Huskies, but and that was a really insane game too. And so it's been a lot of fun.
It's been fun. It was a good
And the
tournament.
best team should have to play a lot to prove that you're the best.
Yeah.
Playing more and proving that when you're tired, that's part of athletics.
I'd agree.
So anyway, that's what I got.
There you go. There's state softball.
Their state softball.
When we come back, folks, we're going to head to the C block and we're going to talk some awards that have come out for softball and baseball. Little all-conference coverage coming up on the other side.
At WCHC, our goal is to take great care of our patients and our staff.
We are able to approach you, take care of your issues, but also give you a path, as far as referrals or treating you right then and there.
Our role in the community is taking care of something that matters to everyone. It's their family and their health.
More than you expect for your healthcare.
Check out Community Profiles every Thursday, where our host, Greta Clemens, talks with people from around Washington about their stories and highlighting upcoming events. Make sure to tune in to Community Profiles every Thursday at 10 on the Southeast Iowa Live Facebook and YouTube page.
I love helping people. I always wanted to help people. That's what I love the most.
We do a really good job of growing our own, but also we are able to take your skills, adapt them to what we need, or grow them as well.
Our leadership group here, they are actively involved, always supportive of our new ideas and innovation here at the hospital.
Washington County Hospital and Clinics. Apply today.
You do super duper. I'll start with SEC.
We're back. Southeast Iowa Video Network. Andy doesn't have the cues that I do.
I don't have the cues. The only cue I have is
why
Jack's face looking through his beautiful eyes, trying to get a reflection.
That's why his voice is is coming through before the recording starts. Andy, we've got some all conference awards to chat about. You want me to start with all? Oh, you want me to start with all SEISC baseball, or would you like to start with all SEC baseball?
You know what? Let's go small to big. You start with the SEISC, then I'll do SEC baseball, and then you do SEISC softball, and then I'll do SEC softball, and then Sickle's also out. We'll do that afterwards.
All SEISC baseball. Their teams were announced with no teams left in the playoffs. In the North, we had a fair amount of union representation, including Andy, the North Division Player of the Year. Bryce Hazlett from Highland had a very, very strong pitching season. We have a lot of good pitchers in the area. I think one of them's going to get mentioned in the Sickle team, but Pekin leading the way in the North Division, 6 first-team selections, 10 players in total, and the Coach of the Year award. Aaron, now I'm forgetting how to pronounce the last name. Deutsch?
Deutsch? No. Deusch, right?
I realized when I interviewed him, I did not ask him for his last name. I was too focused on how crazy of an ending their game was against Kyoto. I didn't say how do you pronounce your name, Aaron. I'll just rip through the first teams. Nolan Glick won for Pekin. Owen Klockstein from L&M. Trevor Phillips from WMU Columbus, who had that heroic game that I watched in the postseason, where he pitched a no-hitter. Riley Smith from Pekin. Garrett Beeson from Highland. Lawson Schrock from Hillcrest Academy. Cal Miller from Pekin. Elijah Brock from Pekin. Rowan Miller from Hillcrest. Landon Rolling from Highland, Henry Adam from Pekin, Lincoln Miller from Hillcrest, Tyson Kailberg from WMU Columbus, Caleb Wheeler from Highland, Calvin Miller from Hillcrest, and Zandrick Allison from Pekin. We're all on the first team, Andy. Second teams and first teams and all, and third teams and all that. Go check it out on the SEIU website. What about SEC?
SEC baseball. First teamers, we got Dane the Brain Burkhart. I can't say nicknames because then I'm going to want to have to do every nickname. So that's the last nickname I'm doing. Dane Burkhart of Fairfield on the first team. Grayson Lowry of Mount Pleasant. Aiden Westerkamp and Voss Richardson, both of Fairfield. Blaze Richardson of Washington. Double Richardson there. Ethan Peck of Mount Pleasant. Fairfield's Ethan Bisgard, double Ethan, and Archer Cruder. Oh, I should have ChatGPT rank first names like I saw that from the MLB, like the best first name. I should take this list and do that. And Ethan Peebler from Washington, Jackson Coleman on the first team. Since there's less names, I'll just run through second team here too. Mount Pleasant's Grayson Walker and Caden Schad. Fairfield's Jason Workman. Washington's Isaac Medrano. Fairfield's Jacob Crew. Mount Pleasant's Jameson Rich.
Congrats to all of our deserved winners. Softball, SEISC North, your first teamers, and I don't believe, Andy, I didn't scroll through your Grace Kessel from L&M won Player of the Year. Carrie Whelan from Highland, though, Coach of the Year. L&M and Highland, of course, shared that conference title this year. North Division first team, Jillian Stransky from Highland, Adley Sweeting from Highland, Kenzie Roosh from Highland, and I'm scrolling down to this, Cameron Fink from Highland, Abby Guys from Pekin, and Isabel Vignon from Hillcrest, I believe, were all of the first teamers. Sienna Bell as well from Highland. I missed one. Scrolling through your list, there are a whole bunch on second team as
There are.
well. South Division. Andy, you wrote this. Was there? Oh yes, Quinn Smith from New London WMU made the South Division first team, as well as Kaylee Snogren from Van Buren County and Riley Cavanis from Van Buren.
And there's one more.
Oh, I missed one. Who did I
Ashlyn
miss?
Huff, also from Van Buren County.
Sorry, Ashlyn. It's a big list
Oh.
I'm looking at.
And guess what? We swept Coach of the Year, Emily Parks, Coach of the Year from New London
In the
WMU.
Super South.
Guess
at
who?
that.
Guess who swept the Union swept Coach of the Year for North and South?
Only elite coaches on at union schools.
That's
Best of
true.
best.
That is absolutely true. Another former superstar. I'm sure Carrie was also a former superstar, but I wasn't around to cover her during her time in high school. But Emily Parks, I was another state player herself. In the SEC, I have names and I have 2 takes to give after this name. Ready
Ooh.
for this?
Yeah.
So this is I'm gonna what's it called when you say like a factual journalistic thing and then you opinionate? Not commentary
What
on
is the
it.
term for that?
What's the word for that?
I mean, I guess that's providing commentary or.
I guess
Are
commentary.
you
word.
giving your 2 cents? Is like that what you're looking for?
I'm giving my $1.50. Yeah, my 2 cents. All right. So making the first team for SEC softball.
Guess you can't give 2 cents anymore. There's no more penny.
That's true. R.I.P. to the penny. Abigail Shelengoski of Mount Pleasant made first team, as did Fairfield's Leah Helmick and Island Cranston, and Washington's Leighton Salazar, Colby Griner, and Natalie Hartman. On second team, we got Washington's Keegan Coleman, Reagan Miller, and Mackenzie Messer. And we have Fairfield's Emma Scepter and Vanessa Kessel. Take number 1.
Take number 1.
Look at the first team, all SEC softball. 1 senior on that whole list.
Yeah.
SEC softball crew
So
will be great. The SEC softball is rising next year.
admittedly, like, I of course I don't put bias in my reporting, but being at a state event with one SEC team there, that was the Burlington Greyhounds, did get a win, I believe.
It sure did.
So congratulations to them for that. But I did do some hyping up to some other media members of just, hey, you've got Kylie Hill from Burlington can return. Both Leah Helmick and Colby Griner from Washington can return. You've got Lucia Darnell, who was maybe the best player in the pitcher in the conference as an 8th grader, is coming back. Mount Pleasant has no seniors. Washington, of course, might be losing the best overall player in the conference, at least maybe the past 3 or 4 years. But they've got all the rest of their team coming back. The SEC, just keep an eye out on it. That's all I said. Just keep an eye out on
SEC
it.
softball. By the way, second team, Emma Scepter of Fairfield's the only senior on the second team also. So a lot of good players coming back. And then I have I have a snub.
Oh.
We usually don't say snubs. And by the way, all the honorable mentions are in the newspaper, so read all about the honorable mentions. Peyton Insminger of Mount Pleasant Jr. was an honorable mention, all SEC. I think statistically, she was probably like a top 5 or 6 player in the league. I don't understand how she got honorable mention. She's batting like 4 something. She's like top 3 or 4 in RBIs. I didn't understand how that happened, but
Yeah,
Let's
take
say-
that up with the committee.
that's my snub of the year.
Wow.
And also even on the honorable mentions, by the way, 2 Fairfield seniors, 1 Keokuk senior. Everybody coming back. Even Keokuk. Let me just say Keokuk. They went 0-33, and they had games against team. It's not like they were getting run ruled every single game. I feel sorry for poor Keokuk. They could never get off the schneid, but this is Keokuk's a proud softball tradition too. So I'm excited. All the SEC teams are gonna be fun.
Keep an
next
eye.
year.
Just keep one eye open.
Keep one eye open. And then I should run through the sickle names. There were 10 Keota Eagles that, as I pull up our sports thing, that made the teams.
I can tell you if you want.
Yeah,
Got
you
them in
tell
front
me.
of you. Keota on the all-conference list. yeah, baseball and softball. I will run them through as I did. You know what I realized I should have done while we were reading this is just done the Command F and typed in the
I
the
should have
school
done
name.
that too.
That would have probably made things a lot easier. Anyway, softball first team: Jesslyn Aller, pitcher, and Elise Lyle for utility. Addison Perkypile and Addison Miller both made second team. Kennedy Jackson, Cameron Hafley both made honorable mention. And now my computer, which has decided to be very slow,
Oh no.
is making me load toward baseball. There we go. We got baseball in front of us. Blake Baker of Keota, first team, as well as Bryson Horace from Keota Baseball, sophomore and a junior, respectively. Jackson Vidito and Brennan McGuire made honorable mention.
And you can read about all those in the newspapers because I believe they've all been released in the newspaper.
Do you think for
Super
Keota, for a sickle softball coach of the year, they just put BGM, North Mahaska, Keota, and BGM in a hat and just like
Oh yeah, because they
because
tied.
they had a three-way tie for the conference title and just picked out Jill Hulsing from BGM won coach of the year.
BGM. I figured it'd be that. It was good. It was because of the recent history of the softball programs. It was going to be BGM or Keota that got that. North Mahaska is a power. North Mahaska. We've had some regional finals against North Mahaska in this area. One of the best games I ever covered was New London versus North Mahaska regional final, 2000 and something or other. Crazy ending.
Great year.
I do have to soak in my sorrows for a second before we go. Has nothing to do with prep sports, but a lot of our prep sports athletes and former ones were there. Even former ones playing against your sports editor Andy Kretzinger came up with the bases loaded in the co-ed softball tournament. First round, extra innings, bases loaded, down to 2 outs, and flew out. Really blooped out to the shortstop. It was tough. It was very tough.
Moment was too big, man. Sorry.
I told I I said that's why it's funny because when you do something bad enough to where, as guys of our age especially, usually if I mess something up in my everyday life, your friends are more likely to, an acquaintance is more likely to rib you about it, right?
Right.
And you know how it's way worse when people are nice about it?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, hey, don't worry, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, I'd rather get made fun of. I'm with you. I'd rather get made fun of.
And so sad news. But luckily, there were no champions anyway because a scuffle in the championship game rendered the tournament to be canceled.
They just made it a wash? They were just like, we're done? Malice at the Palace? We're calling it? It's
I don't
over?
want to get too deep into it because it's kind of like I was in the league and it's technically a local sports thing. But it was a justifiable, we can't play this game anymore.
Oh, no.
Wow,
there's just going to be, you're going to go in the
I don't wanna
Wikipedia of
divulge
this
into it
league and there's
too
just going to
much.
be an asterisk. That's terrible.
I don't want to divulge into it too much.
Fair
but
enough.
It was the dominoes that had to fall were so funny. Without saying any names, there's a rule that you have to play in the regular season to play in the tournament. You can't just show up in the tournament. Otherwise, I had ringers. Don't worry, I would have had ringers for my team. The team that we played in the first round was a team that we'd crushed, and they had people gone on vacation and stuff like that. And there was a certain person, not going to say any names, one of my favorite former athletes, who didn't know the rules. And she showed up to play for one team. And the team that she showed up to play for, the team they were playing had to forfeit. They didn't show up. They called in a couple hours, said we can't play. And so that game didn't happen. And so then the team that we were playing scooped her up for just our game, and then she went back to playing. And then the team that they played in the championship found out about it and then complained during the game, and that sparked
Chaos ensued. I see.
And there might have been some people in the crowd who were dejected from previous failures that might have been helping instigate just by shouting little And so no champions. So really none of that happened.
Wow.
I know. So my ruling is that it's like a skin. It's skins. It's a skins game in golf. Next year's champion is double champion.
Yep.
That's how it has to happen.
That's probably how it goes.
They really should let us. Anytime there's a controversy like this, they should let us hash it out on Prep Sports Plus, and come up with the solution.
Well, there's always next year, and there's also always next podcast.
There always is next podcast.
Peter's playing us out. What does that mean, to play us out? What does
Play
that
us
mean?
out.
There's
To
no.
play
I
us
can't
out.
read it. There's no words on it.
There's no words.
We'll see
I'll
you.
write it and we'll do it live.
Do it live. Probably not live next time. We'll have it recorded. But we will see you all then. Goodbye.
You're actually playing us out. Pull that. That's an underrated part of that.